Stress is actually a good thing when you recover. It makes you more resilient and stronger. We're meant to have stress and then recover. And I've had a lot of challenges in my life and I've overcome them. I have to say, at 58, I feel so strong and empowered because of all those really tough moments.
Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions. Welcome back to Women We Should Know, the podcast where we consistently bring you the voices, the actions, the innovations of women who are coloring outside of the lines, women who are challenging the status quo by refusing to get into boxes created by other people, and women who are carving a path and leaving a torch on for others to come along behind them. I just want to say this is the most incredible honor to be able to speak with these women, to be able to bring their voices and bring their audacity to you, to be able to bring forward conversations that have the potential to inspire, whether they inspire you to get through what started out as a really, really crummy day, or whether they inspire you to pull that dream that you stuck on the shelf in the back of the closet off, knock the dust off, and give it another thought. Whatever it is, I just want to thank you. Because if it were not for the guests, if it were not for the listeners, there'd be no point in me being here. And I would miss this greatly, being able to deliver these things to you, these voices to you. So thank you for the honor of being present with all of you. Today, we have the most amazing woman. Of course, I say that all the time. I bet you think in your head, she says that every time, but it's true every time. So there we go. That's the truth of it. So we do have this amazing woman, like so many of our women who come to this show. She has dominated in a male-dominated industry. So cheers to our sister. And she has received accolades. She has been written up in the Huffington Post. She received, let me read this so that I don't get it wrong. This is very important. Acknowledgement by the Obama administration as a champion of change. Now, aren't women champions of change? And how amazing that the Obama administration recognized her for this. And champions of change, in the respect that the White House recognizes them, are individuals and businesses who are doing extraordinary things to empower and inspire members of their communities. So there's a lot to say, and there's a lot she has done. I'm not going to waste it on the bio. I want to have a conversation about it. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Lisa Dougherty. Lisa, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Leslie. I'm so excited and proud to be on your show and amongst all these women that are probably all champions of change in their own right.
Absolutely. And it is our time. It is our time to come up and be those champions and initiate those changes. But before we get started, before we get into the heart of it, I have a little tiny thing I love to play with in the beginning with every guest. What is one thing that is typically not in your bio that you would enjoy sharing with our listeners?
Well, I love animals. And if I wasn't doing the Medical Fitness Network, I'd be doing the Animal Rescue Network. And I think everybody on my team knows my passion for animals. So there you go.
Wonderful. And do you have a particular animal you like more than another, or just bring them all?
Bring them all, but I am very active in different dog rescues in Orange County, California. So
That's great. That's great. Those little babies need someone rescuing them.
yep.
Let's dive in here. Let's start with, where is your earliest inspiration that you can remember come from to be of service to humanity and to be of service to people hands-on, individually and collectively?
I can't say that there's an individual moment. There's a collection of moments growing up that stand in my head as a collection, from, helping manage the school talent show, being editor of the school newspaper, managing the football team. And if you read my high school yearbook, you will read that I threw the best parties in high school. So I've always been.
So you've always been a shrinking violet.
Yeah. An organizer, trying to, make the paper better, the talent show better, the sports teams better, having fun places for people to gather and connect. So it's always been my personality to do that.
Wonderful. Now, you have so much going on. You have so much going on. You launched the MedFit Network in 2013, the MedFit Education Foundation in 2017, and the Medford Care in 2021. Share with our listeners what MedFit is, what its inspiration was, and what it has come to be. And then we'll go back and look at all the fences you had to jump through to make it come to be.
Right. Well, the story starts about 23 years ago. I changed careers. I was in the securities industry, stocks and bonds, and it was very stressful. And I had the opportunity to leave and go back to college and do whatever I wanted. My dad was battling his second cancer. And I always knew I wanted to help people, as I mentioned, but not with their money. That was very stressful. And I always loved fitness and health. And UC Irvine had a 2-year fitness instructor program. And my goal was to go through that. It was at a teaching medical university. So I was immersed in medicine, learning fitness. And I wanted to come out and help cancer survivors. Is simply put. So I launched that 23 years ago. There was really no one in Orange County that was working what they called special populations. Anybody who had a chronic disease, a medical condition, a disability, to help them with fitness and wellness and being the best that they could, regardless of where their starting point was.
So this was the pre-specialization era.
Yeah. There was trainers were focused on glutes and abs, and rah, group fitness and, leggings and leotards. And I wanted to help people that had fibromyalgia, Parkinson's, MS, autistic children, people that had survived cancer, were battling diabetes, osteoporosis, and so forth. So I went on over 3 years and I took a bunch of specialist certificate programs on chronic disease, and I became a chronic disease and exercise specialist. It was official. This was before there was an internet. You and I talked about this.
Yes, I was going to come to that. The fact that there wasn't even an internet and you were the first in your industry on Google.
There was no WebMD. There was no Johns Hopkins University. If you Googled cancer and exercise, I was number one on Google. There just wasn't anybody. So I got a lot of emails, attention, but do you know someone near me? I want help. And, I didn't. And so I tried to find them help in their area. And what I saw, I'm a problem solver, is that people were looking for help and not finding it. So that inspired me to start the MedFit Network. I went back to UC Irvine and I met with the business school and I said, I need a business plan. I'm going to create a database company like an Angie's List. So I worked with them. We did that. Went back to UCI, worked with software engineer department, and it took them 3 years to build the MedFit Network. It was all volunteer driven and so forth.
So you say it took them 3 years. Is this UC Irvine that built this?
Different students in the computer science department,
Right.
that wrote the software so that professionals can have a public profile page, their picture, bio, link to
Right.
social media. That was coming out in 2012, Facebook,
Right.
LinkedIn, and so forth.
Right. So that was pretty progressive, even of UC Irvine, to
Yeah.
jump on your boat and
Yeah.
say, sure, let's make sure this thing can sail.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then kudos to you, because you must be able to do a great sales pitch.
You know what? It's funny. People say I'm a good salesperson, but I never feel like I'm selling anything. I feel like I'm
But
just
that's the best salespeople, the people who move from passion instead of a desire to get another name on their spreadsheet.
Absolutely. And, I donated my time to the project. I was a full-time trainer. I had trainers working under me. I just saw that there was a problem and I wanted to solve it. So I started the MedFit network. Over a 3-year period, we got about 30,000 professionals in the network.
Now, how did you do that? How did you go from being the first person on the internet, in this industry, the first person on Google, convincing a university, a known university, to create this program? How did you gather up all these 30,000 chicks to come and roost in your farm?
Yeah. So I reached out to different companies in the fitness industry. Again, very male-dominated industry, as you alluded to earlier. And I said, hey, I'm starting this network. I'll give you free advertising on it. I don't have any traffic yet. Will you send
there you got them, free, the word free.
Will you send an email to everybody that buys your courses, buys your fitness equipment, takes your magazine, and let them know I'm starting this public directory? And it was free. Everything was free. Again, I wasn't doing this to, make millions of dollars or anything. I'm just trying to solve a problem. So that's how we grew the registry. I was featured in the Huffington Post, as you mentioned earlier, why you should know me in medical fitness. Dad was on cancer number 4. He kept saying, oh, one day you're going to be on 20/20 or 60 Minutes for creating this. And I'm like, Dad, I don't want to be on TV. I'm very shy. And a week after my dad died, I got the email from the White House, the Obama administration, letting me know that I was a champion of change. And I wish it would have came a week earlier so my dad would have seen it.
Oh,
Well,
for all you know, he's the one that got out there and said, get that letter over to her.
So that got me a lot of attention, as you can imagine.
I'm sure.
Both of those things. And, what I saw was that there wasn't enough educated people. Even that 30,000, sure, that's great. But, we have 300, million people in the United States. 30,000 people isn't going to service
Right.
A silver tsunami of people coming in with 80% have chronic disease. So I decided to start another project to solve that problem, the MedFit Education Foundation. So the first thing we started was educational webinars. And again, I was a pioneer. Everybody does webinars since COVID, but I was doing them 5 years ago, weekly webinars. And they were free for anybody part of this network. And they were on all those topics, Alzheimer's, diabetes, cancer, Parkinson's, MS. We addressed CBD because that was a popular topic. Everybody's asking, should we use CBD? To gut microbiome, brain health, sleep. People want to know about these things.
Of course.
Yeah. And then we started conferences. I did 8 conferences in 2 years prior to COVID. And we called it the Medical Fitness Tour, coming to a city near you. And we held them at different universities throughout the United States. And we traveled back and forth from Seattle to Chicago to San Francisco. And what was really—
And now that wasn't the only one. You're going to do another one, aren't you?
Yes, after our break, our hiatus from COVID, next March,
Yes.
2023, at the Los Angeles Athletic Club, they're donating all their meeting rooms and conference center to my foundation to just raise awareness about this education. So I'm really excited that they're doing that for me. So that'll be our first conference in 3 years. We have created 30 online medical fitness courses for anybody. I mean, if your mom wanted to take the arthritis fitness course because she has arthritis, anybody can take these courses. You can get a credential and be on the MedFit network if you have a college degree and liability insurance. But
of course,
this education's for everybody. And what's
right.
really sad, Leslie, is that it doesn't exist anywhere in the world. Yep. So I am a pioneer in the medical fitness space with all of these courses. And I've had so many countries reach out to me from Canada, Australia, Hong Kong, Thailand, Africa, wanting this education because none of them really have the subject matter experts or the money or the time to develop, all this online education.
What does that feel like, Lisa? What does that feel like to have people calling you from different countries who I presume you didn't know them at all, and they are tracking you down and finding you because they see that this thing that you have grown is so beneficial and powerful? What does that actually feel like?
It's pretty surreal.
Uh-huh.
That, well, you could see me. I don't know if this is of your business. I have curly hair. I'm just an average gal. I drive a Ford Mustang convertible. I want to say just an average person, and I can't believe the extraordinary.
I would say a real person.
I am. I'm just a real down to earth. People that meet me, I'm just really easygoing. And here, my brain, I have this mega mind that extraordinary things that I feel like I'm like outside of myself doing all this stuff. It's just so, it's an honor. I do want to leave a legacy behind. And I see this as a multi-generational project. I would hand it to a niece or nephew to take over for Aunt Lisa, take the reins, carry this on beyond my lifetime, this education, this global network, and so forth, and Medford Care.
Yes. You have the heart for the project. You got UC Irvine to spend 2 years developing a program. You have gotten all kinds of people to donate all kinds of time. Then your clients, now who has ever heard of this? Who has ever heard of this, listeners? Your clients donated and collected $800,000 to help you launch your nonprofit. That is unheard of.
Yep.
Yes. So there's a magic that you have through your love for this project. In reference to wanting this to be a legacy project, and these countries who are calling, are you looking at creating a template that they can start to use, or how are you addressing these other countries that want you to come and spend the summer in France, poor you, to build a health program?
Since it's online education, these countries I'm going to set up affiliate programs to sell the education there, and start, MedFit networks in those countries. And, my industry, the fitness industry, we've talked about exercise as medicine for multiple decades. And how fitness, if they could put exercise in a pill, every doctor would prescribe it, the benefits of exercise. And we've talked about doing it, and that's the thing. We just keep talking about it.
Right.
And I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I wanted to make it happen. And I saw that, again, there was a need. And with Medford Care that we just launched, it's a telehealth company. We're going to be issuing medically necessary exercise prescriptions for people.
Now, let's elaborate. There are listeners out there saying, what did she just say?
Right now, there is no such a thing as an exercise prescription. Yes, doctors will tell people, start a walking program. My mom's doctor tells her to walk. My mom's busy not walking. And doctors don't write exercise prescriptions for 3 reasons. One, they don't get paid to do it. They get paid for services and procedures.
There we go.
They don't know how to write one. They didn't learn anything about exercise in medical school, and a lot of them don't exercise themselves. Again, if I look at my mom's doctor, I think he needs to start a walking program.
A lot of doctors I have seen over the course of my many rotations around the sun look like they need 2 or 3 themselves. It makes me cautious about them telling me to do anything.
Yeah. And then number 3, they don't write exercise prescriptions because of liability. If they write an exercise prescription, the patient gets hurt, or they go to a trainer, the trainer hurts them, they're exposed. So there was another problem that I saw that
That's a big problem because they need to be able to do that without that level of liability.
there's no insurance for doctors to write exercise prescriptions prior to my project.
Oh, here's the catch. Prior to your project. Now, how in the world, Lisa? Of course, I'm pretty sure you could change the world on your own if you set your mind to it. But how in the world forget about changing the world. How in the world did you change the insurance industry to be able to write prescriptions? That is moving a mountain.
It is. So I spent 6 months with an insurance broker trying to find a insurance company that would insure doctors to write exercise prescriptions. And I had to fill out a lot of applications. They wanted to know what the exposure was, who was going to receive them, what type of doctor was going to write them. And after 6 months of filling out many applications, Zoom meetings, being scrutinized under a microscope, who am I? What's my project? What am I doing? Lloyd's of London.
Lloyd's of London?
Lloyd's of London decided that they would accept the risk and insure Medford Care to write exercise prescriptions. And as you know, they've been around for 125
They've
years.
been around for, yes.
And they insure unique things, to say the least.
Yeah,
And
Tina Turner's legs.
yeah, exactly. And Medford Care now.
And Medford Care.
So they're giving us a year policy to see what type of exposure we get writing exercise prescriptions. And you know, with telehealth, you can't cross state lines. So for Medford Care to be in 50 states, we have to recruit 50 doctors, one for each state, to start a pilot program. And with these doctors, they're going to be dual board certified. So they're going to be a family physician and sports medicine focus. That way we know they know how to write exercise prescriptions.
Right.
They're insured by Lloyd's of London to write the prescription. And we're going to pay them to write the prescription. So what can consumers do with this prescription? 3 things. They could use health savings accounts, which are pre-tax dollar.
What does that mean?
To pay for a personal trainer. So they could use, if they have a medically necessary exercise prescription, they could use their health savings account or their flexible spending account, which is employer match dollars.
Yes.
To pay for a personal trainer. Right now, those 2 types of plans will cover a gym membership.
Yes.
It won't cover a personal trainer because it's not medically necessary.
Without a personal trainer, you can get really hurt going to the gym.
6 out of 10 people have one chronic disease in the United States.
Say that again.
6 out of 10 people in the United States have one chronic disease.
I just wanted the listeners to hear that yes, you really did hear that. That is horrifying and speaks volumes to the absence of health care versus just health management.
It's sick care.
But I won't get on my soapbox today.
Well, me neither. But they're just managing disease. It's sick care, health. It's not prevention. So
I've not heard it that way before, but I like that. Sick care versus health care.
It is sick care.
It is.
So, exercise can reverse type 2 diabetes. Diabetes is a lifestyle disease.
Yes, it is.
It can slow down the progression of.
It can also help. My sister was a type 1 diabetic.
Oh, yeah.
Diagnosed when she was 4. And she had this wonderful German doctor that my mother sought out. And part of his treatment protocol, that's the word I want, for all of her life, she had to be in the gym or ride a bicycle or do, we didn't have a lot of gyms way back then, but there was an actual fitness regimen that he prescribed, and she outlived her life expectancy by 20 years.
Yeah. Exercise could prevent dementia and Alzheimer's, which is coming up there with one of the leading causes of death in the United States is dementia, Alzheimer, by the way.
Now, I'd like you to speak to that because I was at a lecture with Dr. Daniel Amen. I'm sure you know who that is.
Yep, he's a
And
Western.
he said that by 2030, 1 in 5 people over the age of 45 in the US would have some degree of Alzheimer's, from early onset to progressed. Now, I would like to know how we can, myself for sure, but all of our listeners, how can we address this from a fitness perspective so that we don't add to those numbers, so that we can actually maybe see those numbers reduce, those projections reduce?
Well, the number one thing that's the easiest thing is cardiovascular exercise. So what does that mean?
Yes.
You get your heart rate up. So when your heart's pumping blood, it pumps it through your veins, arteries, and your capillaries, which goes to your brain.
Yes.
So that's circulatory stuff that circulates nutrients and oxygen. If you're sitting all day, picture yourself like a dirty aquarium without the pump going.
Oh, that's a really great analogy.
I've said that to clients for years. When you're sitting there, you're a dirty aquarium. Nothing's flowing, or all the waste is built up. As soon as you start a brisk walk being, I think they want you to do 3 miles per hour. So at least a 20-minute mile pace, or jogging or elliptical or hiking, whatever, swimming, tennis, whatever you like to do, move.
Move.
That gets your lymphatic system moving.
Right. And we have more lymphatic fluid than we do blood, right?
Yeah. So it gets the lymphatics pumping.
Yes.
Your blood flowing to your muscles in your brain, keeps your heart muscles strong, because your heart's a muscle just like your biceps are a muscle.
Right.
If you don't use your heart, it's going to atrophy. It's going to get weak.
Right.
So you challenge your heart, it's going to get strong, just like any other muscle in your body.
Right.
A strong heart. Women die of heart attacks just as much, if not more so, than men in their 60s. We just don't talk about it.
And that's actually new.
Yeah.
That was not the case 10, 15 years ago.
And I think a lot of it's to do with stress.
Yes.
Lack of stress management. I just was at a longevity summit webinar, and stress is actually a good thing. When you recover, it makes you more resilient and stronger. We're meant to have stress and then recover.
Right.
Chronic, and we never hit the brakes.
Right. Right.
Stress could be good. If you recover, you become more resilient and stronger. And I've had a lot of challenges in my life, and I've overcome them. So I had stress, and then I recovered, and I became more resilient. And I have to say, at 58, I feel so strong and empowered because of all those really tough moments that I had to go through and get to the other side. It just made me stronger overall, and I dreaded them when they were happening, but I knew that once I got through them, I'd be okay.
I know all that adrenaline and cortisol, those stress hormones running through the body are good in short intervals and deadly as a daily diet, I like to say.
Yeah. So chronic stress is bad. But I want to just say one more thing about the Medford Care prescriptions that I said there was 3
I'll
things.
say as many things as you want. I think this is fascinating.
There's 3 things you could do: the health savings, the flexible spending dollars you could use for a personal trainer, which is great. And which I think is the coolest thing in the wall, you could write off a personal trainer on your income tax as a medical expense.
Oh, that is fabulous, because I have one anyway. So what now? Let me ask you that. Sure. I'm fundamentally healthy. Do
you have high blood pressure?
I'm 65 years old. I'm just fundamentally healthy.
Are menopause?
Way past that.
Well, I'm on the other side too. But if you have anything, high blood pressure, cholesterol, pre-diabetes, anything, that you would need we're going to be easygoing about these. We want people exercising. You're at risk for something.
I can find something that I'd like to improve. There has to be some organ in my body that will stand up and say, hey, yes, me.
You need
a little extra.
They're saying that prevention and just reversing this stuff will save us like enough money in a year to pay off our national debt. Because right now, with the silver tsunami of people coming by 2030, to Daniel Amen's point, um, we can't afford to manage sick care.
That's right. That's right.
We just can't.
We
So
can't.
we do to prevent it, slow it down, reverse it. I mean, that should be our top priorities. And that's why, you know, this education, my foundation exists. I'm going to start my conferences up. These conferences are for anybody from doctors to you, my mom, my clients, personal trainers, chiropractors, nurses, dietitians. This education is for everybody. So Medford Care, that's my last project. And then I don't think we have this on your notes because I didn't tell you this, but starting next Memorial weekend, we're going to start Medford retreats.
Oh, you did mention that. I have that in my notes.
Okay, so we are going to be starting retreats. We have about 80 different resorts in the Caribbean, Mexico, Europe that want wellness retreats for the public. And
sign me up.
yep, we'll have education. People will leave with a medically necessary exercise prescription when they go back to the United States to start working with a fitness professional, whether it's virtual or in person. And, you know, back to the other countries, they're all asking when Medford Care is going to come to their country. But I can't even deal with all the healthcare of the world right now. I'm just trying to deal with the United States, which has been a huge issue because doctors weren't insured to write exercise prescriptions. We had no education in the fitness industry, and everybody kept saying exercise is medicine and we should work together for 30 plus years, and nothing was happening.
You've mentioned doctors several times. When we spoke the other day, you were talking about the fact that when you started having these retreats and these conferences, doctors were flooding in. They were excited to have this opportunity to bring this to their patients. That to me was very encouraging, that you have the backing and eager participation of at least a significant sector of the medical community, or what's considered the medical community.
I think they were intrigued that these conferences were at a university in their city. You know, here's a medical fitness conference. I think being in academia gave it more credibility than if it was at,
Of course,
a Sheraton in downtown LA or something.
of course.
So, you know, having them at universities was important to me. And, you know, with Medford Care, as I mentioned earlier, we have to recruit a doctor in all 50 states. And, you know, after our webinar, we probably had about 20 doctors contact us, raise their hand, and asked if they could be the doctor that's representing their state. They didn't even ask how much money they're going to get paid. I don't think anybody cared. I think they just knew someone in their state had to step up and start doing this. And they wanted to be the first person. The first doctor.
I love that. Doctors saying, pick me.
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't happen.
Not that I've ever heard of.
No,
And certainly not in a area of medicine that is not chemical dependent.
Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely. So there's been no map. From the fact that there were no specialties when you started, there was barely an internet, you were the first on Google, there's been no map. But what struck me the other day in our conversation and today over and over again is when you're speaking, you'll say, and then there wasn't this. And so I created this. You work yourself toward the gap or the problem, and then you solve the problem and then work yourself forward toward the next gap or the next problem and solve that problem. That's brilliant, Lisa, and it's courageous.
Thank you. That's true. You know, I run 4 companies and I don't have an MBA.
Well, you know,
I
that's
just,
a whole different topic. The whole spaghetti behind your name. How much is it worth? How much isn't it worth?
it's my heart and passion. And
Right.
you know, I've been called a bulldog, a pit bull in my industry, but everybody says it with a smile. I've been called relentless because I believe this needed to be happen. Like I said, it's a male dominated industry. I don't think they knew what to make of me. I think some of them was hoping I would just go away.
I'm
Uh,
sure. Let's talk about that for a minute. I've been called all those things.
Yep.
Pit bull, I've heard pit bull forever and relentless. And that's always said in a rather tiresome tone. But what if it were men doing what we're doing? What would be the adjectives and the verbs they would attach to those men?
oh, that they were brilliant and hardworking and,
Innovative and courageous.
yes.
And that's one of the things I love to reframe through this podcast is the brilliance. It takes courage to be a bulldog. It actually takes more courage to be a woman and be called a bulldog or a pit bull and keep going than it does to be a male and be applauded all the way along the route.
Trust me, there's many times where I wanted to quit. I just saw, I was pushing this boulder up a hill with
Yep.
water pouring on me.
Yes.
And, I donated my time to this project for the majority of it. And so I wasn't even getting paid. And so it was frustrating sometimes. Like I
Sure.
never said, oh, I'm not getting paid. I'm not going to do this, but I'm not getting paid and I'm doing this with my heart. Why is it so hard? Maybe I should just
Right.
stop.
Right.
But whatever, my dad's voice didn't let me stop and he never let me stop. So here I am. And you know what? I'm not going to stop. I'm going to do this for as long as I can. And then I'm going to hand the baton to someone else to carry it on because what I'm doing needs to go global. And it's going to probably take me most of my lifetime just to get it here and accepted by insurance companies. Insurance won't cover exercise prescriptions. They
Right.
may cover medical exercise therapy, but I need to teach them and show them that exercise is medicine, prevention is better than sick care. And I'm just one woman's voice. I do have a big team of followers and people that are supporting me, but we got to go up against the big pharma and healthcare.
Yeah, but I'm going to push back on you, Lisa. Women have got to stop saying, I'm just one woman's voice.
Yeah.
We must, and be able to say, I am one woman's voice, and more will join.
Thank you for that gift.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I do, it's been really challenging. And I wish, even with the women in my industry, there's a few women leaders and I haven't really got their support. And I don't know if it's, jealousy or I don't know. And I would have thought them of all people would have stepped up with me. And so that was disappointing.
That's one of my hot topics.
I know, that's why
Women to woman incivility, women fighting for their little scrap of ground under the impression that there is no more is the very thing that will reduce or has up until this point reduced expansion or slowed expansion for women. And the more we come together, the more we're all going to expand.
I come from abundance and I tell my team that I come from abundance. I'm not worried. I'll partner, revenue share, affiliates. I come from abundance because I believe there's abundance. And
Yep.
I think those people come from scarcity and that hurts them.
Yes, from emotional scarcity. But let me encourage you. I speak with women every day who are looking for those other women who do want to work in collaboration. We are coming out of the corners. So you'll find them, they'll find you, and you won't have to be so alone.
Well, that would be great, Leslie.
And it's important. That's why I bring it forward. It's really important, listeners, that we all do this, that we look around us and we see, okay, we're not going to go and work full time on Lisa's project, but do we have something we can lend? or maybe it's Becky's project over there or Martha's project over there. How can we link arms?
Yeah, or open doors for each other. I try to do that as well. I have a lot of connections through this project, a decade of connections globally. And so just making warm introductions helps someone get their vision, their dream, their project down the road. So
Well, that's how you and I met.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Because I have this growing network of women who that is their focus. How can I help? And it comes back to them
Sure.
in multitudes.
Yep.
Okay, you have countries from around the world. You have probably every continent, and out of I forget how many countries there are now. You have a good percentage of them calling you. You're starting these new wellness retreats. What is the next gap that you see? See, I've already pegged you. You're one of those smart women who look for the gaps. What is the next big gap that you see now that you're starting to get the insurance rolling and to get the med prescriptions rolling? What's next?
Well, I would like to see when someone's released from a hospital, they get an exercise prescription, because I know the hospitals don't want those people to come back. That doctors start doing it, and maybe they all join Medford Care and they get covered under our Lloyd's of London umbrella policy, so that they write exercise prescriptions. So doctors writing them, hospitals giving patients an exercise prescription so they don't come back. That's what I'd like to see next.
Wonderful. Well, kudos to you. What is the number one thing you need for that?
Oh my gosh. Probably support, whether it be doors opening to have conversations. And then, this is a not-for-profit, any type of financial support, that money has me hire, team resources, experts. Not everybody's going to donate their time to this project forever.
Right. So checks and connections, listeners, checks and connections. We all have one or the other or both. And this is a worthy project, women. This is a worthy project because this is a project that, look, there's not one of us that is going to escape aging, period. There's just not. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or if you're 65. None of us are going to escape it. This is a project that could change the face of how we do that. This is a project, and this is why I'm so excited to be able to bring Lisa on the show. And yes, I know I'm getting on my soapbox, and I reserve the opportunity to do that every once in a while. But it's for the good of all of us. So think about it. If you do nothing but go and give us a thumbs up on this episode and send it forward to one person you know, we will be incredibly grateful for that participation. As we get ready to close out, Lisa, what is the one most important thing that you would say to the women who are tuning in, and maybe a few men? We have a few really good men who are starting to tune in here too. What is the one thing you would say to them today?
I would say, and I say this to my niece who's 20, is do what you love. The money will follow your passion. I never was motivated by money. I hate to say that. I was just motivated by my heart and coming from abundance, and I've never been without. And I think you just need to take that leap of faith and do it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
I am certain that every one of you got at least one nugget. Every one of you had at least one, what did she say moment? That can't be so. I know we all had them. And that's when we grow. That's when our minds open. That's when our hearts open, is when we hear something that makes us stop for just a moment. So Go back and listen to this again. Jump on lesliemichaels.com and watch it on video, because I know some of you are listening to this while you're jogging or driving. And really take this in terms of what it means to you in your life. Do you have elders? Are you an elder? And just take it in and do whatever you do with the information. And then come back and see us again next week, when we will have another phenomenal woman with you to share her stories. So please subscribe, like, and share. And as you go through the rest of your day, please remember, you are stronger and wiser than you know.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you received inspiration for expanding your own social innovation and influence. Help us inspire others by sharing this episode and leaving your comments over at lesliemichaels.com/podcast. For more tips, insights, and support in creating a fully audacious, professional, and personal lifestyle you love, visit our Women We Should Know community on Facebook.